get into more of the writing and producing and things like that?
Well, actually, I was in a play called Miss Lizzie's Royal Cafe. It was like a jazz play, and it was written and directed by an actor-singer by the name of Adam Wade, who a lot of people, if you Google his name, you'd be like, oh my God.
Oh, him.
Right, I know who he is, or especially our parents would know more of him when he had his hit records. But he wrote this play, and he hired me as an actor. And one night, it was an off-Broadway show, and one night I was on the stage, and I was looking out into the audience, and all of a sudden, I almost went blank, because I thought, hey, wait a minute. Adam wrote, directed, and produced this. I can do this. I can do this. So I remember coming out of that show and going home and writing my very first stage play, which was a comedy gospel musical called Take It to the Lord or Else.
Oh, yeah.
And I hired, I said, well, I got to get a name in it. So I was looking for I was in Philadelphia, still living in Philadelphia.
Philly.
And, yeah, that's right. I would never forget. Philly is home still. I like LA. I love LA.
Right, but home
is Philly.
Yeah.
And I remember reading in a newspaper in Philly that LaWanda Page, Aunt Esther from Sanford Son, was appearing at a club in Atlantic City. And so I called the club and I said, listen, I'm trying to find a booking agent for LaWanda Page, and the guy said, well, she did a show here, but she's very difficult to get and to work with. And I said, well, I didn't ask you all that. I just didn't have contact numbers.
You're like, I'm Don B. Welch.
Well, I was always down. Nobody knew it.
Right, but
I knew it.
Exactly.
So I actually got a contact. Her agent was in Palm Springs. And I called and I said, I'm doing the show, and we'd like to hire LaWanda Page. And he said, well, can you send the script and I'll talk to her. Make a long story longer, she came back and she said she would like to do it, but she wanted to, I think the money wasn't right or whatever. Or she wanted to wait for a couple more days before she gave an answer. So I thought real quick on my feet. I said, well, you can go back and tell Miss Page that we're also talking to Helen Martin, who was Little Lady on 227 in the window.
Right, oh yeah.
And Della Reese. And one of those women we're going to go for. Now, I had read earlier that LaWanda and Della didn't get along that great. So I knew what I was doing.
That was very clever.
So she actually took the job.
Oh,
and I flew her into Philadelphia, and I had never, I didn't know what that entailed, bringing somebody to
I was going to ask. Yeah, exactly.
I put her in a hotel. I started doing the press for it, did the show. It was great. What ultimately happened is LaWanda and I became so close friends that when I moved to LA, she insisted that I live with her for a while. And she's since passed on. But that was the first celebrity that had taken a role in one of my plays. So after that, it was like next one, and I kept going. So it was great.
I'm laughing because this interview isn't about me, but it's just I said the exact same thing because I started my internet radio show and I was just doing just topics. Black men who don't date black women. I have a felony, but I need a job. I had all kinds of topics that was really good. And I was like, let me see if I can try to get a celebrity on it. Right. And I contacted Karen Molina White. And she was like, I was like, yeah, my radio show. And she's like, I'd love to do your show. I was like, you would? I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, girl, yeah, you should. And so from that point, have her on there. And then it was like, well, let me see if I can get somebody else. And now it's like every week is a different name.
All somebody can do is say yes or no.
Right.
I think a lot of times, in all that we do as people, it gets down to that one word of fear. The fear of the unknown, not knowing what to expect. But also, we should realize that if you don't step out on that, you'll never know what the answer is.
You'll never know.
I have some amazing people that have worked for me that everybody else would have thought, why? Or how? And I'm thinking, well, all they can do is say yes or no.
Right. And I know people look at it and they're like, wow, you just it was almost like overnight that it happened. I was like, look, I'm highly favored. That's all I can say. Because I just, I put it out there and I request. I get a lot of no's, but I get a lot of yes as well. So those no's later going to come back and be like, hey, can I be on your show? I'm like,
that's right.
How might people call you? People know.
Well, you know what happens with stuff like that? I used to feel that way, like, okay, well, you know what? Well, when you do, I'm going to be... But then the answer is, no, that will be changing me.
Right.
So I'm not even going to do that. The bottom line is, if it's an opening and you come back and I know... Because I'm not going to forget how you treated me anyway.
Right.
I don't have to bring that up to you because when you see me, you're going to remember.
Right, and you don't have to say anything.
No.
They're convicting themselves.
I don't want to give that kind of energy because it makes me go in a place I don't want to go in.
You're going to do a film or as a play about Helen?
No. Neither one.
Neither?
No, neither.
What?
I remember when LaWanda was living, I said, LaWanda, because her life was amazing. People just knew about Sanford and Son.
Right.
But there was so much more to her life prior to that. The stand-up comedy, she was a shake dancer, they called them years ago, where they would go and she danced with fire. And
oh, really?
And her body was amazing. And all these pictures I could show you, you'd be like, what? But
Aunt
Esther. But
fish-eyed fool.
Fish-eyed, right. No, I'm not writing. And I remember going to her and saying, listen, LaWanda, I want to write your biography. She said, nope. One day I thought I might do a tribute to her in some kind of a stage play, but not really writing her life, because sometimes you have to honor what people ask you.
Right.
And she was not comfortable. I knew a lot of her private life, but she wasn't comfortable with talking about all the things that she had gone through.
Right.
So you have to honor that.
I think it would be good to have something kind of in her honor, since she was the first one that just, broke, because Karen Molina White will always be special to me, because she was the one that really opened up that for me.
And you don't forget that, even when LaWanda was still living, I went on to other people that was performing it, but I never forgot that she was the first one.
Right. You don't.
So there are a lot of projects that I am working on, but not the life story of her, but I am going to do some type of tribute later on to her. Because she also was a very forgotten comedian that people just didn't, and I don't say it that much, but when LaWanda died, when she passed on, there was really no one to let the world know, like the press. I had the AP, Time magazine, Newsweek people to mention her, to give this woman. She had been in business over 50 years, and I won't say this other. There was a network that they every year when there's an award show, I won't say what it is, but there's an award show and they do the in memory of, and they weren't going. I called them about her and they said, oh yeah, we it's wonderful, but it's too late because we've already got the setup. And I said, well, if Phyllis Diller had died yesterday, you would have found a way. I said, I put it to you this way: LaWanda Page needs to be in that lineup, or I'm just going to make some phone calls. And I meant to the press. I remember watching that night, and they did everybody, and when they showed her picture, the place erupted. And I thought, wow. Because that was her fear too, not being remembered. Right. And I was not going to let that happen.
And that's all I known her from was Sanford and Son. And I mean, but it was a very great character on it nonetheless.
And people didn't know that her and Red Fox actually went to elementary school together.
No.
That's how long they knew each other.
Really?
That's how long they knew each other. And she got the job because she was appearing in LA at a little comedy club somewhere. And when the script came to Red Fox, he said, I know an actress, LaWanda Page, for that. I want you to, a comedian. And he sent the people to go watch her in this club. They came back and they said, yeah, she's funny, bring her in. And they brought her in and she was reading the lines and never read a script before. So she would say something like this: yeah, you old fish-eyed fool, and he walked out the door. And she would do that.
She was reading the directions.
Right, and they said to her, no, she's not going to work. And Red Fox said, if she go, I go.
Oh, wow. See, sometimes you have to pull rank. And look what she did to the show.
He said, if she goes, I go. So, needless to say, she got the job. But
because your lack of knowledge doesn't mean that the talent isn't there. You know what I mean?